Time now for NetCheck here on BON News, and the Nishimatsu Corporation has announced it will set up a fund worth 250 million yen, that's $2.7 million, to compensate 360 World War II forced labourers from China. The labourers were relocated to Hiroshima Prefecture in 1944 to construct a power plant being built by Nishimatsu. 8 Chinese, 4 former workers and 4 surviving family members represented the forced labourers at the out-of-court talks, which resulted in an agreement for an immediate settlement ratified at the Tokyo Summary Court.
Now, according to the terms of the settlement, Nishimatsu takes historical responsibility for using the forced labourers and expresses its profound regret. It also agrees to establish the fund to compensate the 360 Chinese workers and conduct a search for victims who went missing, as well as building a memorial. Sino-Japanese issues are always very sensitive, and understandably this issue has generated a lot of chat online. Our researcher Kevin Jia has been looking into this, and we can join him now in the newsroom. Now, Kevin, just how is this news being taken here in China?
Well, some people online are happy about this. They think it's a good step that a Japanese company is facing up to history and brave to shoulder the historical responsibility 30 years after the original lawsuit began, in which the Japanese Supreme Court ruled against the Chinese workers. One commentator says, Nishimatsu Construction is setting a good example for the Japanese government and other enterprises which are not facing up to their history. He says it's a good lesson for the Japanese government and a big step in the right direction.
2.7 million divided between 360 people is just $7,500. Has anyone picked up on the relatively small amount being given?
Yes, they have, and many people are not satisfied with it. They think it's not enough because the Japanese government still cannot admit its historical mistakes and argue this case shouldn't be turned into merely a labor dispute. They also remind people not to forget the national humiliation suffered. But some others take a different view, saying that China should be more forgiving about the past. They say we should learn from this experience in order to create a more prosperous Asia.
Thanks, Kevin. Now, Hala, it is interesting that this company 13 years ago refused to actually make a payout. It was the same case was brought against them, and they stood behind the agreement which most Japanese companies have made between the Chinese and the Japanese government when they were establishing relations, where they established that all payments had been made to the Chinese government at that stage. This company then got embroiled in a financial scandal, began apparently to re-look at its corporate responsibility, and now has in fact come to the point where it is paying off not that many workers, but it is making this payment.
It is, and it is significant as well. I mean, like we said earlier, it's not a big amount of money that these people are getting. It's not a significant amount of cash. But the real interesting fact here is the fact that some responsibility is being taken by the company, and this is going to be worth much, much more to the victims than any amount of money ever would. I mean, as some victims were saying, it's more the fact that this is being recognised and, apologies are being given, and that means an awful lot more to them than any amount of money ever could.
It is indeed. Now, coming up next, stay with us, we've got Straight from the Street.